Alright, welcome back, folks. And in this game, you're gonna see what happens when the Schlieffen Plan decides to be recreated in War of Dots. This game was wild because it basically came down to who could micro the most across the entire map. And when I mean the entire map, you're about to see the entire map get played. And yeah, it basically comes down to a race between me trying to cap his capital on the one flank, which in this case is going to be the southern and the right flank. And it's going to come down to him trying to cap my capital by going to the left and the northern flank. Now, this occurs because I make a massive, and I mean massive blunder. I think, I've played like 4 games straight at this point, and it's getting quite late, and it's a work day as well, so it wasn't like a good idea to actually start this game. So I was not thinking straight. I was like thinking too big picture while playing the opening of this match. And basically, what happens is that I'm going to give up the center for no good reason, and I basically blunder the entire center. I get encircled, a lot of dudes get killed, but I didn't give up. I didn't give up. The one thing that was going through my head around about this point was Kirk from Rathacon. I don't believe in no-win scenarios. And the funny thing is, that wasn't the only blunder that happens. I actually blunder a whole city as well because I miss my timing with the building orders. So like two major blunders happen, and they happen quite close to succession of each other. And I still didn't give up. And yeah, you're gonna see what happens. What happens when you don't give up. So I'm gonna uh, put the replay up, speed it up. So the blunder is gonna happen in the center here. I'm gonna be moving too many pieces all over the place that I forget that there's an opening here that I leave, and he basically encircles my entire center group. And yeah, basically everybody gets killed. But at the same time, I'm not sitting idly by. I've got my own offensive that I'm gonna initiate in the south here. Basically, it all starts off because I'm trying to maneuver this one tank in the south. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna make an offensive here? What's my game plan? And I'm too fixated on trying to maneuver this one lone tank to like make my offensive that yeah, I completely forget about the center. Don't play War of Dots when you're tired, folks. That's all I gotta say. So we do some shuffling around. I'm trying to position my tanks in the center on the plains tiles. I'm microing too much on my tanks basically is one of the big problems. And here, right here, I'm trying to shuffle my units around, and I completely like forget that this unit that's supposed to take the line here, I move him around for like no reason. I'm like trying to cycle the units. I'm keeping a massive reserve here just in case that he's going to attack, and I'm trying to set up my own offensive because I've now placed my tank unit down here in the south. Let me put the replay down to normal speed. Right, so here's where things go wrong. So trades start happening, he's attacking, I'm depleting his morale faster because I'm on the defensive, but I pull back too fast. And right here, I give this one light infantry unit the opportunity to encircle my entire center group. And I'm like too busy trying to micro my offensive down here because I'm making a breakthrough now in the south. And I completely do not realize that he has a unit that's right in the middle of my back lines. And we just speed it up here to see what happens. Yep, he's now funneling a second line infantry unit into the breakthrough, and there, right here, is where everything goes south. I realize now it's a little bit too late. He's going to get to the river line. He's going to connect the borders. So now we're completely encircled. And what I should have done is that I should have immediately retreated the entire center group into the middle here. Now we managed to reconnect the supply, and then he disconnects it again, and he makes a mistake because now things are gonna, and you're gonna see this happen, is that we're gonna make like a lot of mistakes on each side in terms of the micro because we're about to go all in all over the map. So I managed to reconnect, but it's a little bit too late. He's already got a massive numerical advantage in the center. These guys are dead. They're dead as hell. His light infantry units that's holding this encirclement, he mismicroed them and put it into the water, so it was very easy to kill that. As I said, it doesn't really matter because now we've lost the entire center group. We have taken about 20k casual. No. We've that's a lot of casualties on our side. In terms of troops, though, we're only 10,000 short. Still pretty bad. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? Well, in the south here on the flank, I've got an advantage. I started the offensive with the heavy the tank unit, getting a lot of good trades, and I had a massive reserve in the forest here, preparing for this offensive. So I just decided we're going all in. Screw it. Entire center group is collapsed. I've got nothing left to lose. If this play doesn't work, then we can just call it quits. So we're pushing in now. Speed up a little bit. Yeah, slight stalemate. I make a river offensive with the 2 units here. I figured might as well. I almost get to the city, but he manages to reconnect it. And right about here, this is where we start to succeed. I shuffle around the units a little bit more, thin it out so that we can extend out, and we're about to encircle his entire center group. And right there, well, almost right there, is going to be our counter encirclement, and right there we've now encircled his entire center group. We made some risky plays. He was too busy microing the middle that he forgot about his units in the center, and you're going to see this happen a lot because we're trying to manage so many units all across the map, and both of us make the mistake of trying to micro like the individual battles that we forget the big picture. So we've managed to equalize our casualties. So he encircled my center, I counter encircled his center. Good stuff. And now what it's gonna come down to is that I'm gonna try and push as hard as I can for this southern city. I'm right at the doorstep. I've got a numerical advantage. Well, I have a numerical advantage at this point. He's already shuffled his center group, and he's splitting up his center group. He decided not to push the center. I think that was a big mistake on his part. I think that since he already won the center, you should just commit everything you have there. Instead, he decides to split up his units and go around on each side. And what he's gonna do is that he's gonna try to make a delaying action here in the south whilst trying to make a offensive action in the north. And yeah, this is basically the Schlieffen Plan, what happens here. I'm going to commit everything to the south. I already have an advantage here. I've already pushed this far forward. I'm out of supply right now, so I have to retreat. I tried to make a small encirclement in the south, but that didn't quite work out. Once I know that he's only got 3 units here and he's not really pushing that aggressively, I leave an equal amount of units, put them on the defensive. He's not going to be able to break through that. And then I remaneuver everybody else that I have into the south. If you can see to the top right, I am floating a lot of resources. It's only around about like the 12, 13 minute mark that I realize, oh damn, I'm microing too much. I've completely forgot about my economy. I'm good on the numbers. I need to start rebuilding my forces. That will come later on into play because I haven't quite realized it yet. But now we're fully committed in the south. We're going to start making some more plays across the river. I'm now pumping out the light infantry. I'm just spamming light infantry now. I don't build any tanks just because amount of forests involved, and I am basically going to be fighting a major well, actually, at the time I didn't know, but I continue on with this light infantry spam because I'm going to have to make a major defensive action into the north. And offensively in the south here, like, it doesn't really matter until I get into the middle, but by that time, I already have beaten most of his tanks, so it's not gonna matter. Going and spamming light infantry was definitely the right play here, even though I didn't have all the information that made it a very sound strategic decision in the long run. So I'm busy cycling. I'm trying to cycle my units as fast as I can. I completely forget that I could have used this bridge to get to this city down here, but it's yeah, definitely that definitely could have come in slightly clutch. But now we're trying to cycle in all the fresh units from the reserve units from the reserve cities at the very far back there. I miss a couple, like this one up here in the north. I completely forget about that. That was a mistake. But things are moving quite fast. I overextend again. I do this quite a bit because I'm trying to micro on this side here, the building, and on the left flank. And I also got to keep an eye on the middle. I try to push forward here just to see and scout. And by the time it gets there, I realize that this unit in the south, he's too far gone. Might as well just commit him and delay this guy from recovering. But in the meantime, we're trying to get more troops and we're trying to thin out the line just a little bit more so that we can get as many units attacking as possible. His units are depleted. My units are slightly more fresh than his. The only way I can tell that is by looking at the unit markers. He's got more broken up units, whereas I have a couple of units that are still like fully, the animation, fully solid. So that's going there. And now in the north, he begins his offensive. So this is his counter hook to my hook down in the south. His two tanks basically come in clutch on the plains tiles here near the lake. I pull back to shorten the line, but it's not gonna be enough. In the center, I completely forget about it. So he cycled a couple of units more, so he's managed to deplete my units, and he's gonna get a couple of kills. I realized too late when that's happening. And yeah, I'm still focused on trying to commit everything into the south here, and I am making progress. Trying to make sure that I don't get cut off again. So I'm trying to put in like larger units to keep the front supplied, but I keep forgetting it because I'm like every time I put the unit there, then all of a sudden I look at the front, it's like, oh, I need to cycle a unit in, and by the time I do that, I'm juggling like three different units all at the same time, and two of them are doing redundant jobs. I managed a slight encirclement here to his unit. He tried to push far forward because he has no vision now on this entire flank here. He doesn't know how much I have committed. So there's that. He's now trying to cycle that out. He's trying to recover his tanks. And okay, looking at the replay now, he's taking way too long with his units in the north. And this gives me this is probably what wins me the battle in the south, is that he takes too long trying to figure out what he's trying to do. Now he does it, and now it works out. He has massive numerical advantage now. And what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna blunder. I'm gonna blunder the city with the tank here, where my cursor is, because usually what I'm doing now is that I'll just move a unit out of the city, and then that way it frees up the zone to build the unit. Currently my production is that I've gone full light units, and I put the slider to the max amount. But I totally miscalculate the timing on this tank unit, and I lose the city on that, which was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. That right there is probably a game-winning position, and a lot of people would have quit at that point. I have quit at that point several times. So once again, I'm trying to probe. I keep overextending. So now I'm putting two dedicated larger units into the rear. I mean the mid lines here. I can already tell that I've got enough units here in the south to capture the city. So I'm still committing into the attack. I'm now have to give up the center, so I'm pulling my boys out of there. In the north, there, right here, I completely give up the city for no good reason. And yeah, that was pretty bad. At this point now, I've got to pull everybody out from the north side and bring them back. And we're going to set up a defensive line just on the other side of this river of where my capital is. We're going to set up a defensive line over here, hold this city. This city is going to become Stalingrad. You're going to see massive battles and massive encirclements go on in this northern side. Whilst that's going on, I'm still trying to push down into the south here. I'm still trying to cycle units in and out. In the center, I now have to reform a new defensive line. Looking in hindsight, if he had concentrated his forces here, instead of trying to capitalize on the city that he took up in the north and trying to combine to hit my capital, if he had swung down south, I think he could have easily have won. He could have easily have taken it. Okay, I've taken the city in the south. The southern city is ours, so we've traded cities. I blundered a city in the north, I've taken the one in the south, and now we're just going to try and mop up the forces. I still have massive numerical advantage, so now it's Schlieffen Plan. I got to swing out the south and on the right flank, try to get to his capital fast, and he's now, you can see, swinging in north hard as hell, all across, and I go for an encirclement because I know that he's overextended his supply, and I'm encircled his entire group, but it's not a effective encirclement. I only knock out like one unit and deplete 4 units to half strength. And then I make a counter blunder here. I get encircled myself because I'm still trying to micro on the right flank here, trying to get the breakthrough to get out there. And I also get encircled on the south, but I managed to save that. But in the meantime, when I'm trying to micro the stuff down here, I get encircled in the north, and that happened there. And both of us, you can see, we're trying to micro both ends of the map here. And there are 3 separate battles. There's the battle in the southernmost city. There's this battle that's here, that's going to the push to the capital, and there's the battle in where the place I'm gonna call Stalingrad, which is my northernmost city now. The center just basically gets left alone at this point because everyone's trying to move everything all around. I am not cycling the units that are on my back lines. I do that in about 60 seconds. I'm going to start cycling, and that's going to be my main defensive core here. I'm floating way too much funds, so it's like, okay, just take the guys out and then send them forward and let the units get built in the city. Stalingrad has now been established. I've got 3 units in an encircled city. He's got a ridiculous amount of units have around him. Well, outnumbered like 3 to 1 here. He tries to push for the capital. I keep this dude on the capital here. I don't make the same mistake as I did in my previous city over here in the middle, where I took the guy out to try build it. That's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna build the units on the southernmost cities that I've got left here. I try to go for another encirclement. I actually do get an encirclement, but it's not effective. He manages to break out. I've got a unit crossing the river on the far west side, and I've got a unit trying to cross in the center here. The center guy gets intercepted, so that, too bad. But my westernmost guy, he is going to get around. We relieve the encirclement, but it doesn't really matter because the city can supply up to 5 units. So even though my 3 units there were encircled with that one city, they were still fully supplied. So, and you're gonna see this full supplied unit, this full supply task force, hold out for a ridiculous amount of time. Now, I commit my center forces into the encirclement now. I see the initiative there, and he decides not to push down south. He decides to save his encirclement, which I don't know, probably was the right move. In the battle to the south, I've taken the southernmost city, and I've won that, and now I've got free reign on the easternmost side of the map. I then capped the city in the middle of the hills, the valley, so now I've got his entire center group now encircled. He has counter encircled in the north. He's about to get the city. I again try to go for another encirclement. It doesn't work out. His city right here is projecting too much power. I can't get a good offensive out of that. But then he overextends, and now we've got 3 separate more encirclements, and we're looking good now because he spread out his forces too much. He's already spread out his forces down to the southernmost side here. They're encircled. We're counter encircling their encirclement. We're going in the east now. We're going way, way out. This was a mistake because I keep forgetting. It's like, yes, I do have the initiative. I do have the numerical advantage, but I'm closer to his cities. So his cities are going to be, knocking my supplies out. I need to have a larger unit in the back line, but a single light infantry unit isn't going to be able to knock out the tank. So I need to commit more guys. But then I completely forget about that because I'm trying to race for the capital now in the center. So this easternmost flanking unit, they got knocked out. In the western side, Stalingrad is still holding. We've got the units hanging out. We've knocked out quite a few of his units in the encirclements, but in the attempt of getting the encirclement, my guys get encircled, the guys that went in from the center. So we lose quite a lot of units, and in his counterattack to hit the counter encirclement. Now I manage to get a lucky break. He leaves the city undefended here, so I'm gonna be able to cap that. Uh, in the meantime, his capital is under siege. I've got more than enough units to knock it out. I've put a larger unit in the middle of the valley here to keep these guys supplied, so that battle is basically won at this point. He's deploying armor units into his cities. This is for defensive purposes. He's just trying to hold it out. Okay, Stalingrad finally falls, which is, it was inevitable. It was going to happen. But as you can see, we've gone back to cap the initial city that he blundered. I mean, I blundered. So he blundered it back to me, and we cap it. And we're going to hold on to that. We're spamming light infantry as many as we can. I forget to connect this southernmost city in the southeast side to my industrial chain, so it doesn't produce units, which was a mistake, but I was too busy trying to get this new city to the north here and cap the capital. This right here was dangerous as hell. We actually get encircled there, but we win just in time. Now he's crossing the river. I've pulled all my forces into the capital. We're fighting a defensive battle. I know that he's trying to get around on this side, so I've got units on the southernmost city. We've got 2 ready to go there. I now need to regroup my forces in the top here, but I'm not getting greedy, but I'm like, my priorities aren't straight. I'm still thinking that, oh, I've got to keep going forward, continue the offensive, get the cities that we can win, because I've got the capital now, right? I've got the capital, I've got the win condition. I just need more 80% of his cities. In the meantime, what's happening here is that he overextends himself. So he gets encircled by pushing too far forward. He gets a lot of attrition. I try to swing around the back, and I actually managed to get the city by because he mismicroed by putting his unit that was on this city right here where my cursor is. He put it too far out, so I sent a unit through the back line all the way to try and get in behind and hit him and try to push him out of the city, which is what happens. I managed to push him out of the city. The same thing is happening here in the northernmost city here, where there's encirclement. Well, my units are encircled, but it is possible to push him out from the city because he didn't quite like put the unit pixel close enough to avoid such a situation. But yeah, his entire army in the west is completely encircled. We got back our cities. It was one hell of a game. Don't play War of Dots when you're tired after a full day work at night. It's not a good idea, folks. But yeah, this is the most insane game I've played so far, and it was a hell of a battle. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.